I'm Jeremy with Poindexter G, and today we're going to talk about cleaning antique and old military surplus rifles. So there's a lot of information out there about cleaning old firearms. You get a wide, varied amount of opinions out there. All I can really do is just give you my opinion on the matter, and it's just that, my opinion, but you're here for it, so let me go ahead and give it to you. Now, you'll hear arguments out there that you don't want to ever clean these at all because you'll take the patina off of them. You don't want to try to ever clean up the stocks. You don't need to ever take them apart. You just need to leave it alone. And people say that there's value in keeping them completely like that in that state, that's actually preferable to trying to clean them up a little bit. Well, I don't really agree with that, and I'm going to go off to an exaggerated example here to show you why. Okay, so we got us a real nice example of a late 70s, early 80s truck here. You can look at it here and see that the finish is original on it. Look at all this beautiful patina that's on this and everything in there. I mean, all of the hoses, the plugs, everything, that's all original. None of that's been changed. Those seats are original. Nothing's been changed down on them. And the tires, yeah, I mean, the tires are pretty rough. I mean, but, you know, we could put new tires on it, but they would just completely stand out if we put new tires on it. And yeah, we could try to, you know, get rid of this rust that's on here, but, you know, you're going to damage that original finish if you try to take this rust off. This one is so good compared to the ones where they've gone and they've redone all of the paint on it and completely stripped off what's originally there and put new on it. I just can't believe that there's people that'll take these old beautiful cars like this and just completely destroy them by redoing everything on it. It's just a shame. Now, I understand that firearms aren't cars, but when you look at this mentality that we have a lot of times with antique rifles and try to apply that to other machines, you start to realize how absurd it is. Nobody has any interest in a car that is not kept up at all. The older cars that have a lot of value are the ones that have been taken care of and have the bits that need to be replaced, and the parts that need to be cleaned. When the paint job on it gets so bad that it's just completely unappealing and it's basically just destroying itself with rust, then that needs to be stripped off and something new put on there. And I'm not saying just go take these rifles and strip everything off of them, refinish the metal all the time, and just strip off the stocks and completely redo them. But there's times that has to happen, and you have all the time that you need to take basic care of them. So I'm going to go ahead and use my trapdoor here as an example. So I bought this from a reputable dealer online and had it shipped to me. And you can do that since it's an antique. You can have it shipped to you because it's legally not a firearm. When I got it, it was basically in the type of condition that you see a lot of these in. The stock had not been cleaned at all on it in like forever. The metal on it was pretty rough. There was still just lead down in the bore. And there were actually a few places on the rifle where there were rust. So I went ahead, took it apart the day that I got it, and cleaned everything up. Now, I'm not here with like fine sandpaper or a Brillo pad or even like Scotch-Brite and just going to town on all the metal. But I'm cleaning off everything on there, especially the internals. I went ahead and went over the stock and just got it cleaned up. I'm not talking about stripping off the stock, but just cleaning the stock. And I definitely made sure that I got rid of every single piece of rust that was on there. But I started seeing that once I was cleaning it up, that it wasn't just an ugly old stock. There was actually a lot of wood grain in it. You could see all the patterns that were still in there. That's true of both my trapdoor and, honestly, my Garand that I got from the CMP. It was pretty nasty, but when we got to cleaning up the stock on it, it really came out and looks really nice now. This is a usable machine, and it's a part of history that can be used. You can learn so much more about these and know so much more about these going out and actually shooting them if they're in a condition to be shot. So that's what I did. Once I had a local gunsmith check it out and make sure that everything was good on it, I went ahead and I fired this a bunch of times because it's fun. So you don't need to be afraid of cleaning antiques or cleaning other older rifles. So now that I've got all of that out of the way, let me go ahead and tell you a few things about cleaning these type of rifles. As far as all the metal parts on the rifle, whatever types of cleaners that you have around for your other firearms is probably going to work fine on these. Cleaners like CLP, Ballistol, or even Hoppies, if that's what you got, do perfectly fine on it there. You just want to go over it with a rag in that, maybe a toothbrush in some places. If it's on the exterior, try not to take like Scotch-Brite or anything and really just go over it really harsh, because you will start to take some of the finish and some of the patina that's built up over the years. Those cleaners aren't generally going to take a lot of that off unless you just really go over it really harshly. Now, anywhere that there's rust on it, you've got to get that off of there. And if that ends up taking some of the finish or some of the patina off, well, then it does. But the gun's just going to get destroyed if you leave rust on it. As far as the internal parts, you can clean those a little bit more thoroughly and harshly. That's where you can start getting the Scotch-Brite and some of the metal brushes and things. It's okay to do those a little bit more in there because that doesn't show as much, and you want to make sure that those parts are clean so that they're working properly. You also really want to make sure you get the bores clean on these. You can get a lot of performance out of them just by getting the bores clean, because a lot of people don't ever clean these out properly. As far as the stocks outside, boiled linseed oil does a really good job there. Now, a lot of people, as soon as they hear me say boiled, they're like, oh, never use that boiled linseed oil, only use the raw. That is what they used back in the day, and that's what's right. One thing that's a big difference between boiled and raw linseed oil is that a lot of the fats are removed from it when it's boiled, and that's what gives the wood the nice red color that we're used to seeing in it. Now, if it's a stock that's already been treated and already has a nice color on it, then you don't really have to continue using raw linseed oil on it to get that color. It's kind of already there. You can pretty much just show up at Walmart or your local hardware store and find boiled linseed oil. Now, if you're trying to do something like treat one of the new CMP stocks, then yeah, you may want to try to track down some raw linseed oil. That's a little bit harder to come by. You usually got to get that through some sort of art supply place. Now, it's also recommended by a lot of people that you can mix the linseed oil with mineral spirits. That will help it clean up a little bit better and also help thin it down a little bit to be able to get in there a little bit better. I've generally just stuck with the straight linseed oil, but I think either of those would work for you. You also want to make sure that whatever rags you're using to clean with linseed oil, that you don't just wad those up and throw them somewhere. Actually sit them out there to air out, because I'm told that they can actually be flammable, and under right circumstances they might could even spontaneously combust. It also might take several goes at it with the linseed oil to get the stocks to start really looking nice. They're not just going to do it on the first day. Now, this is a mantra that has to do with about how often to put linseed oil on a new stock that you're working with, but it's also a good idea for older rifles like this. But basically, once a day for a week, once a week for a month, once a month for a year, once a year for life. If you do that, you'll keep your stock in great shape. And then also just make sure that you get everything inside cleaned and lubed like it's supposed to be, and go ahead and probably get some oil over everything outside. But basically, these are machines, and as long as you treat them like machines and clean them up and maintain them properly, they can last for a long time. They can be really old, but still be able to be used and enjoyed. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, be sure to like or comment. You can also subscribe to my channel to make sure that you catch all the videos that I post and not miss anything. I'm Jeremy with Poindexter G, and we'll see you next time. You like this beautiful old truck? Yeah, you like it. I mean, it's a beautiful old truck. Why wouldn't you like it? You just want to go in the house, don't you? Yep.